Hello, children. Do you know what is the meaning of the word quality? Quality means the degree of excellence of something, a distinctive attribute or characteristic possessed by someone or something. Today, let's learn Unit 5 Quality, written by John Galsworthy. John Galsworthy was an English novelist and playwright. He was born in United Kingdom. His notable works are The Forsyte Saga and its sequels, A Modern Comedy and End of the Chapter, The Skin Game, etc. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature. Here, quality is a touching account of a passionate shoemaker whose love and dedication towards his work. The story unfolds with the narrator describing his family's relationship with the Jesler brothers as their long-term customers and of how the Jesler brother used to make boots for his father. As the story progresses, the narrator familiarizes the reader with the ways of the Jesler brothers, and the sense of familiarity is crucial as understanding the story. The story is about two siblings, German shoemakers, who were known for their shoemanship. They ran a rustic and traditional place and made bespoke boots as per a specific order. Their quaint shop had a small display of their finest works. It was titled after their family name. Let's begin our lesson. I knew him from the days of my extreme youth because he made my father's boots. He lived with his elder brother in his shop, which was in a small by-street in a fashionable part of London. The shop had a certain quiet distinction. There was no sign upon it other than the name of Jesler brothers, and in the window a few pairs of boots. He made only what was ordered, and what he made never felt fit. To make boots, such boots as he made, seemed to me then, and still seems to me, mysterious and wonderful. I remember well my shy remarks one day while stretching out to him my youthful foot. "Isn't it awfully hard to do, Mr. Jesler?" And his answer, given with a sudden smile from out of the redness of his beard, "It is an art." It means, "It is an art," he said with a German accent. It was not possible to go to him very often. His boots lasted terribly, having something. Lasted terribly means lasted very long. Having something beyond the temporary, some essence of boot stitched into them. One went in, not as into most shops, but restfully as one enters a church, and sitting on the single wooden chair waited. A guttural sound and the tip-tap of his slippers beating the narrow wooden stairs, and he would stand before one without coat, a little bent, in leather apron, with sleeves turned back, blinking as if awakened from some dream of boots. And I would say, "How do you do, Mr. Jesler? Could you make me a pair of Russian leather boots?" Without a word, he would leave me retiring whence he came, or into the other portion of shop, and I would continue to rest in the wooden chair, inhaling the incense of his trade. Incense means the smell of leather as compared to the smell of incense in a church. Soon he would come back, holding in his hand a piece of gold brown leather. With eyes fixed on it, he would remark, what a beautiful piece. That means, what a beautiful piece. When I too had admired it, he would speak again. When do you want them? And I would answer, oh, as soon as you conveniently can. And he would say, tomorrow fortnight. Or, if he were his elder brother, I will ask my brother. Then I would murmur, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Gisler. Good morning. He would reply, still looking at the letter in his hand. And as I moved to the door, I would hear the tip-tap of his slippers going up the stairs to his stream of boots. The story starts with the description of the boot shop. On top was the nameplate Jesler Brothers and a few shoes displayed on the window. They make shoes on order. The narrator then narrates one of his meetings with Mr. Jesler. He has been acquainted to the Jesler brothers from the time of his youth, for his father was a patron of the shoemakers. The two brothers occupied a no-frill store in the once fashionable western area. It was a simple store without any grand signage or advertising, as they only took custom orders making unique boots according to the feet of each client. Here the narrator says it has not been possible to go to him much because the shoes he made have lasted very long and are the best of their kind. One day the narrator goes to their shop to get a pair of Russian leather shoes. Mr. Jesler retreats upstairs, comes back after some time holding a fine golden Russian leather piece. After the narrator's approval, he says he will get his shoes tomorrow fortnight. The narrator also describes how entering the Jesler brothers' shop was akin to entering a church where the client had to wait patiently on a wooden chair for the masters to do their work. Boots would be ordered, and then the client would be shown the leather piece that would go into the making of a perfectly fitted boot. Here he got a grand Russian leather piece. Let's continue the lesson. I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say to him, Mr. Jesler, that has pair of boots creaked, you know. He looked at me for a time without replying, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement, then said, it shouldn't have creaked. It did, I'm afraid. You called them wet before they found themselves. I don't think so. At that he lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots, and I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. Send them back, he said. I'll look at them. Some boots, he continued slowly, are bad from Barrett. If I can do nothing with them, I take them off your bill. Here in this paragraph, the narrator describes about his memorable visit. He complained to the younger Jesler brother that his boots made creaked. Creak means an object or structure, typically a wooden one, make a harsh, high-pitched sound when being moved or when pressure or weight is applied. Or show weakness or frailty under strain. That is the meaning of creak. Here, our narrator complained to the younger Jesler brother that his boots made creaked. This complaint bewildered the skilled craftsman, as if it were impossible for any of his products to have imperfections. However, with great ingenuity, Mr. Jesler asked the narrator to send back the shoes for repair, failing which he said he would refund the amount charged. After a long pause, Mr. Jesler asks him to bring the shoes to him. He assures that if he can't repair them, he will give the money back. Then see the next paragraphs. Once only. I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. He took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my foot. At last he said, "Those are not my boots." The tone was not one of anger, nor of sorrow, not even of contempt. Contempt means the feeling that a person or a thing is worthless or beneath consideration. Disregard for something that should be considered. That is the meaning of the contempt. Okay, let's continue. But there was in it something quite that froze the blood. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot was not quite comfortable. "It hurts you there." It means it hurts you there. Those big worms have no self-respect. Means those big firms have no self-respect. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. "They get it all." That means they get it all, he said. "They get it by advertisement, not by work." That means they get it by advertisement, not by work, not by quality. Means the big companies. They take it away from us who loaf our boots. It comes to this presently I have no work. Every year it gets less, you will see. Then he continues, "They take it away from us who love our boots. It comes to this presently I have no work. Every year it gets less." And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those ill-omened boots. Ill-omened means someone or something who brings bad news. But his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. They lasted longer than ever, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. Here the narrator describes about his another memorable visit. Another day he goes to Jessler Brothers to order a new pair, wearing a pair of shoes which he bought due to some emergency from a big firm. Mr. Jessler at once recognizes that the shoes are not made by him. He touches a particular spot on the narrator's shoe where it isn't comfortable for the narrator and says that it hurts there. He expresses his contempt that those large firms attract customers through shiny, impressive advertisements to sell their inferior quality products. Then the author explains to him under what circumstances he had to buy those shoes. The new shoes lasted nearly 2 years, and in his visit, he receives quite a shock. The ice-cold contempt in Mr. Jessler's voice made the narrator order multiple pair of boots, so much so that he had no occasion to visit their store for the next 2 years. Let's see the next paragraph. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. "Well, Mr. Jessler," I said, "how are you?" He came close and peered at me. "I am very well," he said slowly, "but my elder brother is dead." And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and wan. Wan means lacking enthusiasm or energy about a person's complexion or appearance, pale and giving the impression of illness or exhaustion. And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, "Oh, I'm sorry." "Yes," he answered. "He was a good man. He made a good boot, but he's dead." And he touched the top of his head, where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother, to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. "Do you want any boots?" And he held up the leather in his hand. "It's a beautiful piece." I ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but they were better than ever. One simply couldn't wear them out, and soon after that I went abroad. It was over a year before I was again in London, and the first shop I went to was my old friend's. I had left a man of 60. I came back to one of 75, pinched and worn, who genuinely this time didn't at first know me. "Do you want any boots?" he said. "I can make them quickly. It's a slack time." I answered, "Please, please, I want boots all around, every kind." I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one I tried them on, in shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather. They were the best he had ever made. I flew downstairs, wrote a check, and posted it at once with my own hand. After 2 years, the narrator goes back to the store and finds that one half of the store had been occupied by another company. The narrator later learns that this downsizing had to happen because running the shop was turning out to be too expensive. The next time the narrator goes to the shop, an older looking Mr. Jessler informs him that, unable to handle the losses their business was incurring, the elder brother had died. This time, the ordered boots took a long time to come, but their quality was better than before. It was only after a year that the narrator visited the Jessler shop to find that Mr. Jessler had aged rapidly, looking frail and weak. However, despite the aging, the man still knew his trade well and went about the task of measuring the narrator's foot for a fresh piece. This time, the boots took even longer to come, but their quality was better than ever. See the next paragraph. A week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. I went in very much disturbed. In the shop there was a young man with an English face. "Mr. Jessler in?" I said. "No, sir," he said. "No, but we can attend to anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over." "Yes, yes," I said, "but Mr. Jessler?" "Oh," he answered, "dead." "Dead? But I only received these boots from him last Wednesday week." "Oh," he said, "poor old man, starved himself. Slow starvation, the doctor call it. You see, he went to work in such a way. Would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. When he got an order, it took him such a time. People won't wait. He lost everybody. And there he would sit going on and going on. I'll say that for him, not a man in London made a better boot. But look at the competition. He never advertised. Would have the best leather too, and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? But starvation? That may be a bit flowery, as the saying is, but I know myself he was sitting over his boots day and night, to the very last you see. I used to watch him, never gave himself time to eat, never had a penny in the house, all went in rent and leather. How he lived so long, I don't know. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots." "Yes," I said, "he made good boots." After a week, while passing the little street, the narrator thinks to go in and tell Mr. Jessler that the boots are perfect. But when he goes to the place where the shop was, the nameplate is no longer there. Disturbed, he goes into the shop and a young English face greets him. The narrator inquires about Mr. Jessler and comes to know of younger Jessler's death. Upon hearing this, the narrator is quite shocked. The young man explains to him that Jessler died from starvation. He used to devote himself to shoemaking so much that he used to forget about everything else. All the money went in the rents and leather. The fate was quite obvious from the beginning. But both the narrator and the young man agree that the Jessler brothers made good quality boots. It's a heart-wrenching tale of an artisan bootmaker who stood true to his principles at a time when the world was running after profits. The story shows what our business world has become now. More the advertising, more the earning. No one pays attention to the poor traditional craftsmen who value art and quality of products. They have to suffer, even though they don't deserve that. The main theme of this story is commitment. Commitment to one's work, to one's passion. Every worker is an artist if he loves his work and is immersed in it. The Jessler brothers' commitment towards their work is really touching. For them, the struggles, the hardships are nothing as long as they keep doing their work. There aren't many characters in the story, but those that are there are well portrayed, beautifully described and realistic. The ending of the story is quite sad. There is a sense of loss and grief. And that is what the author wants the readers to feel for those true craftsmen like the Jessler brothers who value quality, as the title suggests. Hope you love this story. Read the story and try to understand what the narrator means by quality. Thank you so much.